The Outsider's Dilemma. The observation deck of Celestial Anchor Station hung like a crystalline bubble at the edge of the massive structure, offering an uninterrupted view of the swirling gas giant Morkai 7 and its 17 moons. Commander Lena Reyes stood with her back straight, hands clasped behind her, watching the planet's amber storms churn beneath her. 6 months stationed here, and the view still took her breath away. Commander Reyes, the station's AI announced through her personal comm. The Akrelian delegation requests your presence in Conference Chamber 3. Lena sighed, her reflection in the transparent aluminum showing the brief flicker of annoyance she allowed herself. Tell them I'll be there in 10 minutes. They insist on immediate attendance. Of course they did. The Akrelians operated on their own timetable, expecting other species, particularly humans, to adjust accordingly. 6 months of diplomatic service on this station had taught her that the scaled humanoids considered themselves the intellectual superiors of every species in the known galaxy. Their technological achievements gave them some right to that arrogance, but Lena had grown tired of their condescension. 5 minutes, she replied, smoothing down her Navy diplomatic uniform. Not a second sooner. As she made her way through the station's curved corridors, she mentally prepared herself for another round of negotiations. The treaty allowing humanity access to Akrelian quantum technology was hanging by a thread, threatened by cultural misunderstandings and the Akrelians' rigid social hierarchy. Conference Chamber 3 was designed to accommodate the Akrelians' preference for dim lighting and higher ambient temperatures. As the door slid open, Lena immediately noted 2 things. First, there were far fewer Akrelians present than expected for a formal delegation. Second, the 3 who were present seemed unusually agitated, their scale crests raised in what she recognized as alarm. Commander Reyes, said Voltar, the lead Akrelian diplomat, we have a situation that requires human insight. That was new. In 6 months, not once had the Akrelians admitted needing human perspective on anything. I'm at your service, Lena replied, taking a seat at the oval table. The room's amber lighting made the Akrelians' emerald scales shimmer as they exchanged glances. One of our scientists has developed a theory that contradicts our established understandings, Voltar said, his vertical pupils narrowing. Normally, such deviance would be handled internally, but this individual has requested human consultation before his reassignment. Lena recognized the euphemism. Reassignment in Akrelian society meant exile to a remote outpost, effectively ending one's professional and social life. May I ask what theory has caused such concern? She asked. A door at the far end of the chamber opened, and a 4th Akrelian entered. Immediately, Lena noticed the differences. While most Akrelians carried themselves with rigid posture, this one moved with an almost fluid grace. His scale crest was trimmed in the style of younger academics, rather than the elaborate patterns of the diplomats. Most strikingly, his eyes held something she'd never seen in an Akrelian before: uncertainty. This is Thaxis, Voltar said, not bothering to hide his disdain. Former lead researcher in quantum communications. Current lead researcher, Thaxis corrected, earning a hiss from the other Akrelians. Until formal reassignment proceedings are completed. Voltar's crest flared. Your theories have already been rejected by the Scientific Council, because they refuse to consider evidence that contradicts their established doctrine, Thaxis replied, turning to Lena. Commander Reyes, I've studied human adaptability extensively. Your species achieves breakthroughs by challenging assumptions rather than reinforcing them. Lena leaned forward, intrigued. What exactly is your theory, Thaxis? That the quantum communication network binding our empire could be modified to transmit matter, not just information. His words hung in the air like a challenge. And that humans possess the neural plasticity to survive the process, while Akrelians cannot. The chamber erupted into hisses and clicking sounds as the delegation expressed their outrage. Lena raised a hand for silence. You're suggesting a form of quantum teleportation, she asked. That's been theoretically possible for centuries, but practically unachievable. Because it's been approached from the wrong perspective, Thaxis replied. All previous attempts focused on deconstructing and reconstructing matter. My approach maintains quantum coherence throughout the transition phase. Voltar slammed a scaled hand on the table. Enough. You were permitted to present your request, not your rejected theories. Lena studied Thaxis carefully. Something in his demeanor suggested he wasn't simply seeking academic validation. What exactly do you want from me, researcher Thaxis? Partnership, he said simply. I need a human perspective to complete my work. And in return, I offer humanity the greatest technological leap since faster-than-light travel. Absurd, one of the other Akrelians muttered. Lena held Thaxis's gaze. And if I agree to hear more about your research, then you defy diplomatic protocol, Voltar warned. This individual has been deemed intellectually deviant. Association with him risks your position here. It wouldn't be the first time Lena had made a career-risking decision in the name of potential breakthrough. Before she could respond, the station's alarm system blared to life, red lights pulsing along the chamber walls. Warning, the AI announced. Station orbit destabilizing. Gravitational anomaly detected in Sector 5. Lena was on her feet immediately. What's happening? Thaxis moved to a console, his fingers flying across the display. The station's quantum stabilizers are failing. We're being pulled into the gas giant's gravity well. That's impossible, Voltar insisted. Our technology is fallible. Thaxis cut in. Commander, I need access to your human quantum processing arrays. Lena didn't hesitate. Follow me. As they raced through corridors now filled with panicked station personnel, Lena's comm buzzed with priority messages from Earth Command. She ignored them, focusing instead on the Akrelian scientist keeping pace beside her. This isn't a coincidence, is it? She asked as they entered a restricted section. Thaxis' expression was unreadable. The station's systems were designed to prevent exactly this type of failure. That's not an answer. No, he admitted. It's not. The human quantum lab was deserted, emergency protocols having directed all personnel to evacuation points. Lena unlocked the central console with her command codes. You have 5 minutes to explain what's really happening, she said, before I alert security. Thaxis' shoulders slumped slightly. The gravitational anomaly is real, but it's not an accident. It's a demonstration. Of what? Of what happens when quantum communication networks are manipulated by those who don't fully understand them. He connected his personal device to the console. My research isn't just theoretical, Commander. I discovered that the Akrelian High Command has been attempting to weaponize quantum communications. Lena felt cold despite the room's elevated temperature. You're saying this is sabotage? Not exactly. Thaxis' fingers danced across the interface. It's an unintended consequence of their experiments. They've been trying to develop a way to remotely disable enemy systems through quantum entanglement. And instead, they're collapsing the station's orbit. Lena finished. Can you stop it? With your help. He looked up, his vertical pupils locking with her human ones. My approach to quantum mechanics could stabilize the anomaly, but I need human computational methods to implement it in time. Lena made her decision. Tell me what to do. For the next hour, they worked side by side, her intuitive approach to problem-solving complementing his structured methodology. As the station shuddered around them, they rebuilt the quantum stabilization protocols from the ground up, incorporating theories that the Akrelian Scientific Council had dismissed as heresy. When the final algorithm was deployed, the station gave one last violent shake before steadying. The emergency lights dimmed, replaced by the standard illumination. Station orbit stabilized. The AI announced. All systems returning to normal operation. Lena slumped against the console, exhaustion washing over her. We did it. We did, Thaxis agreed, studying her with newfound respect. You implemented variations I wouldn't have considered. Humans are good at improvising, she said with a tired smile. So what happens now? You've just proven your theories have practical applications. Fax's crest flattened in what she recognized as resignation. It changes nothing. The Council will claim the stabilization was due to automated backup systems. My reassignment will proceed, even though you just saved everyone on this station. Especially because of that, he said quietly. I demonstrated that their established understanding of quantum mechanics is flawed. There is nothing more dangerous in a Krellian society than proving the authorities wrong. Lena considered this, remembering similar instances throughout human history. Visionaries punished for challenging the status quo. Then we need to ensure your research continues elsewhere. There is no elsewhere for an Krellian judged intellectually deviant. There's Earth, she suggested, or any of the human colonies. Faxis looked genuinely startled. You would offer asylum to an Krellian. I would offer cooperation to a brilliant scientist whose work could benefit both our species, she corrected. Before he could respond, the lab door slid open. Voltar entered, flanked by Krellian security officers. Researcher Faxis, he announced formally. You are hereby charged with unauthorized access to critical systems and intellectual deviation of the highest order. Your reassignment has been upgraded to permanent isolation. Lena stepped between them. This scientist just saved the station while you were evacuating. As the ranking human representative, I'm invoking Article 7 of our treaty, which allows for emergency diplomatic protection of individuals who safeguard human lives. Voltar's crest flared in anger. This is an internal Krellian matter, on a joint species station, with human lives at stake. Lena countered. I think not. Researcher Faxis is now under human diplomatic protection, pending a full investigation of today's incident. The standoff lasted several tense seconds before Voltar backed down, hissing something in the Krellian language that made Faxis's scales ripple. After they left, Faxis turned to Lena. You've made a powerful enemy. I've made those before, she replied with a shrug. But I've never found a scientist who could revolutionize interstellar travel. That seems like a fair trade. You truly believe my research has merit. There was something vulnerable in his question, something profoundly un-Krellian. I believe you just applied theoretical quantum mechanics in a way that saved 5,000 lives, including mine. She held out her hand in the human gesture of agreement. That earns you the benefit of the doubt. After a moment's hesitation, Faxis extended his scaled hand and clasped hers. The texture was dry and warm, the grip careful as if he feared hurting her. In my entire career, he said quietly, no one has ever taken my side against the Council. Get used to it, Lena replied. Humans have a long history of backing underdogs. Underdogs. It's an old Earth expression. It means. She paused, searching for the right words. It means we recognize that sometimes the one standing alone is the one worth standing with. For the first time, she saw an Krellian smile, a subtle expression, just a softening around the eyes and a slight parting of scaled lips, but unmistakable. Commander Reyes, Faxis said, I believe this is the beginning of a most unconventional collaboration. Looking at the brilliant scientist deemed too radical for his own kind, Lena couldn't help but smile back. I wouldn't have it any other way. Impossible alliance. 3 weeks after the orbital stabilization incident, Lena found herself in unfamiliar territory, both literally and figuratively. The makeshift laboratory she'd established in an unused storage bay of the station's human sector hummed with the combined technologies of two civilizations. Krellian quantum processors interfaced with human neural network algorithms in configurations that would have been deemed heretical on either world. And at the center of it all stood Faxis, his emerald scales catching the blue light of holographic displays as he adjusted parameters on a device no larger than a human fist. The entanglement ratio is stabilizing, he announced, his normally even voice tinged with excitement. Your computational approach is working. Lena moved closer, watching as quantum signatures aligned on the display. 3 weeks ago, You couldn't even get the entanglement to hold for more than a few milliseconds. 3 weeks ago, I was working within the constraints of Ecrelian scientific doctrine. Thaxis turned to her, his vertical pupils dilated in what she now recognized as enthusiasm. Your species' willingness to pursue intuitive leaps rather than proven pathways is illuminating. Coming from an Ecrelian, this was extraordinary praise. Their society valued methodical certainty above all else, viewing human intuition as dangerously imprecise. Don't give humans too much credit, Lena said, checking the power flow to the prototype. Our intuitive leaps have led to plenty of disasters. Yet you continue making them, Thaxis observed. That persistence despite failure. It's not something my people understand. Before she could respond, her comm unit buzzed. Commander Reyes, report to Diplomatic Hub immediately. Earth delegation arriving in 30 minutes. Lena frowned. There's no Earth delegation scheduled for today. Emergency protocol, the AI replied. Ambassador Chen has requested your immediate presence. She exchanged glances with Thaxis. Ambassador Chen's unexpected arrival could only mean one thing. Their unauthorized research had been discovered. Secure everything, she told him. I'll handle Chen. Be careful, Thaxis warned. The Ecrelian Council has submitted formal complaints about my continued presence here. They may have persuaded your superiors to intervene. Lena nodded grimly. Stay here until I contact you. The diplomatic hub was already bustling with activity when she arrived. Ambassador Chen, a stern woman with a reputation for strict adherence to protocol, stood surrounded by aides, her expression making it clear this wasn't a social visit. Commander Reyes, Chen said, dismissing her staff with a gesture. Walk with me. They moved to a secluded viewing alcove overlooking the docking bay. Below them, technicians prepared for the arrival of the Earth vessel. You've created quite the diplomatic situation, Chen began without preamble. Sheltering an Ecrelian scientist deemed deviant by their government, repurposing station resources for unauthorized research, and now rumors of a technological breakthrough that violates our technology sharing agreements. Ambassador, if I may explain. You may not. Chen's voice was steel. The Ecrelian High Council is demanding Thaxis return. They've threatened to revoke our access to their quantum communication network if we continue harboring him. Lena felt her jaw tighten. With respect, Ambassador, Thaxis saved this station. His research could revolutionize interstellar travel. So I've read in your rather detailed reports. Chen's expression softened slightly, which is why I'm here in person rather than simply ordering his extradition. Hope flared in Lena's chest. You want to see the research. I want to understand why one of our most promising diplomats is risking her career on an alien scientist rejected by his own kind. Chen turned to face her fully. Make me understand, Commander. For the next 20 minutes, Lena explained everything. Thaxis' theories, their successful stabilization of the station, and the progress they'd made toward true quantum matter transmission. She described how Ecrelian precision combined with human intuition had solved problems neither species could address alone. When she finished, Chen was silent for a long moment. You realize what you're proposing would fundamentally alter the power dynamics of the known galaxy. I realize it would connect worlds in ways we've only dreamed of, Lena countered. Instant travel between star systems, no ships, no months-long journeys. And you trust this Ecrelian, despite knowing his own people consider him dangerous. I trust the evidence of what we've accomplished together, Lena said firmly. And yes, I trust him. Chen studied her carefully. There's more here than professional respect, isn't there? The question caught Lena off guard. Don't bother denying it, Chen said, not unkindly. I recognize the signs. I once defied orders myself for a Centaurian cultural attaché. Before Lena could formulate a response, alarms blared throughout the station. Red emergency lights pulsed along the corridors. Security breach in Section 12B. The station AI announced. All personnel clear the area. Lena's blood ran cold. Section 12B was where their makeshift lab was located. "Thaxis," she whispered, already moving toward the exit. "Commander," Chen called after her. "This may be an Exiled extraction team." Lena didn't slow down. Then they're about to learn why humans are terrible enemies to make. She raced through the station, security protocols parting doors before her command codes. The closer she got to Section 12B, the more signs of struggle she saw. Scorched walls, disabled security drones, and the distinctive ozone smell of Exiled neural disruptors. The lab door had been forced open. Inside, 3 Exiled security officers were attempting to subdue Thaxis, who had barricaded himself behind overturned equipment. Their neural disruptors, designed to temporarily paralyze, were having minimal effect on him, something Lena hadn't known was possible. "Stop," she shouted, drawing her own sidearm. "This individual is under human diplomatic protection." The lead officer turned, his scale crest fully extended in aggression. "This deviant belongs to Exiled justice. Stand aside, human." "I will not repeat myself," Lena said, leveling her weapon. "Your weapon cannot penetrate our scale armor," the officer stated. Lena adjusted her aim and fired, not at the officer, but at the neural disruptor in his hand. The precision shot shattered the device, sending feedback that made the Exiled hiss in pain. "I don't need to penetrate your armor," she said calmly. "Now back away from the scientist." For a tense moment, it seemed the standoff would escalate to bloodshed. Then a new voice entered the fray. "Stand down, all of you." Ambassador Chen strode into the lab, flanked by human security. "This is now a diplomatic incident at the highest level." The Exiled officer's crest flattened slightly. "We have authorization from the High Council, and I have direct authorization from Earth Command." Chen interrupted. "Any action against Commander Reyes or researcher Thaxis will be considered an act of war against the United Earth Alliance." It was a bluff. Lena knew Earth wouldn't go to war over one alien scientist, but the Exileds couldn't be certain. After a tense silence, the lead officer signaled his team to withdraw. "The Council will not forget this interference," he warned. "Neither will Earth," Chen replied smoothly. When they were gone, Lena rushed to Thaxis, who had slumped against a console. "Are you hurt?" "Minor neural disruption," he said, his speech slightly slurred. "It will pass." They were not expecting resistance. "You resisted effects of a neural disruptor?" Chen asked, impressed despite herself. "That shouldn't be possible for an Exiled." Thaxis straightened with Lena's help. "I've made certain adaptations to my nervous system. My research required understanding neural patterns different from Exiled standard." "He's been studying human neural pathways," Lena explained. "Part of our quantum transmission theory involves adapting neural structures to survive the transition." Chen surveyed the damaged lab. "I need to see this research, all of it, now." For the next 2 hours, they showed the ambassador everything: the theoretical models, the successful small-scale tests, the projections for full-scale implementation. Throughout the presentation, Chen remained silent, her expression unreadable. Finally, she spoke. "You understand this changes everything. If quantum matter transmission becomes possible, it renders our entire fleet obsolete. Our defensive strategies, trade routes, colonial expansion plans, all meaningless. It also makes peace more likely," Thaxis countered. "When distance no longer separates species, understanding becomes possible. Or conflict becomes immediate," Chen replied. "History suggests the latter is more probable." Lena stepped forward, "Which is why this technology needs to be developed jointly. Not by humans alone, not by Exileds alone, but together. What we've achieved here proves that our different approaches create something stronger than either could separately." Chen considered this. "And you too. What happens when this research concludes? The Exiled will still be considered deviant by his people." Thaxis and Lena exchanged glances. "I have considered that problem extensively," Thaxis said slowly. "My society has no precedent for what I propose." "Which is?" Chen prompted. Permanent association with a human. The words hung in the air, leaden with implications. Commander Reyes and I have developed a working partnership that transcends our species' differences. I believe such an arrangement could continue indefinitely. Lena felt heat rise to her face, painfully aware of Chen's scrutinizing gaze. We work well together, she managed. Indeed, Chen said dryly. Well enough that you're willing to risk interstellar incident to protect him. She turned to study the quantum prototype. I need to consult with Earth Command. Until then, you two are confined to the human sector. No further research without direct authorization. After Chen left, silence filled the lab. Lena busied herself securing their data, acutely conscious of Faxis watching her. You risked everything, he said finally. When the security team arrived, you could have denied involvement, claimed I coerced you. That would have been a lie, Lena replied, not looking up. An expedient one. He moved closer. In a Krellian society, self-preservation would be the logical choice. Well, humans aren't always logical. She finally met his gaze. And I couldn't let them take you. Because of the research. The question hung between them, demanding honesty. Not just the research, she admitted. You're the most brilliant mind I've ever encountered. But it's more than that. Working with you these past weeks, she struggled to find words. You see the universe differently. You make me see it differently. Faxis was silent for so long that Lena feared she crossed some unseen cultural boundary. Then, with careful deliberation, he extended his hand in the human gesture she taught him weeks ago. In all my studies of humanity, he said quietly, I never understood your species' willingness to form bonds that defy rational analysis. Now I begin to comprehend. Lena took his hand, feeling the now familiar texture of his scales against her skin. Is that your scientific way of saying you care about me too? For the second time since they'd met, she saw an Krellian smile, this one more confident than the first. It is my imprecise attempt to express something for which a Krellian language has no words. His grip tightened slightly. When the security team arrived, my first thought was not for my safety or the research, but for yours. That is, unprecedented in my experience. The intimacy of the moment was interrupted by the station eye. Commander Reyes, priority message from Ambassador Chen. Lena reluctantly released Fax's hand. Put it through. Chen's voice filled the room. Situation has escalated. The Krellian High Council has revoked all diplomatic privileges for human personnel. You have 24 hours to transfer researcher Faxist to Krellian custody or evacuate the station. They can't be serious. Lena protested. This station is a joint operation. Not anymore, Chen cut in. As of 10 minutes ago, the Krellians declared Celestial Anchor exclusively their territory. Earth Command is evaluating military options, but for now, the evacuation order stands. After the communication ended, Lena sank into a chair. This is my fault. I should have been more discreet. No, Faxis said firmly. This was inevitable from the moment my research proved viable. The Council fears what we've created together. He knelt beside her chair. But we can perfect it before they stop us. How? We're being evacuated in 24 hours. Not if we prove the technology works first. His eyes gleamed with determination. The prototype is nearly complete. With one final push, we could establish the first quantum matter link between this station and Earth. Lena stared at him. That's insane. We've only tested with subatomic particles. Moving anything larger would be a leap of faith. Faxis finished. Something my people condemn and yours celebrate. We're talking about risking our lives on untested technology. We're talking about changing the galaxy forever. Faxis took her hands in his. Lena, I have calculated the risks. With your neural algorithms and my quantum stabilization protocols, we have a 78.3% chance of success. And a 21.7% chance of atomization, she pointed out. Yes, he didn't deny it. But consider the alternative. I will be reassigned to isolation. You will be court-martialed for defying evacuation orders. Our research will be buried by authorities who fear its implications. He leaned closer. Or we can take this risk together and prove what's possible when two different minds unite. Lena looked into his alien eyes and saw something she never expected to find in an Exiled: passion. Not the cold calculation of his species, but genuine belief in their shared vision. If this works, she said slowly, it changes everything about how species interact. And if it fails, we will at least have attempted something extraordinary. His expression turned solemn. I have existed for 73 Earth years, Lena. In all that time, these weeks with you are the only ones that have mattered. The confession struck her like a physical blow. In Exiled terms, it was tantamount to a declaration of love, something his species claimed not to experience. Faxis, she whispered, are you asking me what I think you're asking? I am asking if you will take this leap with me, both the technological one and the personal one. His voice dropped lower. My people have no ritual for this, but I believe humans do. Will you be my partner, Lena Reyes? Not just in research, but in life. The universe seemed to hold its breath as Lena looked at the brilliant alien before her, outcast by his own kind, now offering her everything. Yes, she said simply. To both questions, let's change the galaxy together. Fax's crest raised slightly in what she now recognized as joy. Then we have much work to do and little time to do it. As they turned back to the prototype, Lena felt something she hadn't experienced since her first days in space, the pure exhilaration of venturing into the unknown, not alone, but with someone who saw the stars as she did, full of possibilities waiting to be discovered, defying two worlds. The evacuation alarm had been blaring for 3 hours straight, its pulsing rhythm now just background noise as Lena and Faxis worked feverishly to complete the quantum matter transmitter. Their makeshift lab, once organized and methodical, had transformed into a chaotic workshop of interconnected components and hastily assembled circuitry. Quantum alignment at 93%, Faxis announced, his scaled fingers dancing across the holographic interface. Neural pattern buffer stabilizing. Lena didn't look up from the power conduits she was reconfiguring. Ambassador Chen has ordered all remaining human personnel to the docking bay. We have less than an hour before security comes looking for us. 52 minutes to be precise, Faxis corrected. I've accessed the station's security protocols. The final sweep of this section is scheduled for 1700 hours. She smiled despite the tension. Even now, his Exiled precision remained intact. It was one of the many contradictions she'd come to admire about him. Rigorous logic paired with unprecedented imagination, cultural restraint alongside personal courage. There, she said, sealing the final connection. Power flow should be stable now. If we're actually doing this, it's time to initialize the sequence. Faxis looked up, his vertical pupils dilated in the dim emergency lighting. Second thoughts, Commander. About a dozen, she admitted, but none strong enough to stop me. Her comm unit buzzed insistently. It was the third call from Ambassador Chen in the past hour. Lena silenced it without answering. They'll track our location soon, she warned. Then we proceed. Faxis activated the central console, bringing the quantum transmitter fully online. The device, no larger than a standard cargo container, hummed with energy, its core glowing with an otherworldly blue light as quantum fields established themselves. Destination coordinates, he asked. Lena entered a series of numbers. My brother's research facility in the Atacama Desert. It's isolated, secure, and he's the only human besides myself who might understand what we've accomplished. You trust him with this technology. I trust him with our lives, she replied, which is what we're about to do. Faxis nodded, accepting her judgment. Final calibrations complete. The entanglement between here and Earth is stable. He hesitated. Lena, there is something you should know before we proceed. His tone made her look up. What is it? The neural interface required for quantum matter transmission. It will create a temporary bridge between our minds during transition. His crest flattened slightly in what she recognized as discomfort. In a Krellian culture, such mental connection is intimate, reserved for life-bonded pairs. Lena felt heat rise to her face. You're saying we'll be able to read each other's thoughts? Not precisely. More accurate to say our neural patterns will harmonize. Thoughts, memories, emotions, all briefly shared. He met her gaze directly. There will be no secrets between us during transition. The implication hung in the air. Everything she felt, everything she was, laid bare to him. And his to her. Is that why no other Akrelian would work with you on this? She asked softly. Because of this connection. Partially. His voice was equally quiet. My people fear such vulnerability. To know another's mind completely, it violates our most fundamental cultural taboos. But you're willing to do this with me? I am. The simplicity of his answer carried weight. Are you? Before she could answer, the lab doors slid open. Ambassador Chen stood in the entrance, flanked by 2 security officers. Commander Reyes, Chen said, her voice sharp with authority. I ordered all human personnel to the evacuation point 30 minutes ago. Lena straightened, positioning herself between Chen and the quantum transmitter. With respect, Ambassador, we're on the verge of a breakthrough that could change everything. Chen's gaze shifted to the glowing device. So this is it, the quantum matter transmitter. Despite her stern demeanor, a flicker of wonder crossed her face. You actually built it. We did, Thaxis confirmed. And in approximately 47 minutes we intend to use it. One of the security officers raised his weapon, but Chen waved him down. She stepped forward, studying the transmitter with narrowed eyes. Earth Command has been negotiating for 12 hours to prevent a diplomatic catastrophe. The Akrelian High Council is threatening to revoke all human access to their territories if we don't return their deviant scientist. And Earth agreed. Lena guessed bitterly. Earth prioritized maintaining access to Akrelian quantum communication technology, Chen corrected. As they should, given the alternatives. Even if those alternatives include something far more valuable. Lena gestured to the transmitter. Instantaneous matter transport across light years. No ships, no months-long journeys. Just step through and arrive. Chen's expression remained impassive, but her eyes betrayed her interest. You're certain it works? 93% certain, Thaxis replied. The remaining variables can only be tested in actual transmission. Which you plan to test, on yourselves. Chen looked between them, understanding dawning. You're not just colleagues. This has become personal. Lena met the ambassador's gaze unflinchingly. It has. A tense silence filled the lab, broken only by the soft hum of the quantum device and a persistent wail of evacuation alarms. Then, to Lena's surprise, Chen signaled the security officers to wait outside. When they were alone, the ambassador's rigid posture softened slightly. You realize what you're risking. Not just your careers, your lives. We do, Thaxis said. And you believe this. Connection between you is worth it. Lena looked at Thaxis, this brilliant alien who had defied his entire species for the sake of truth, and felt certainty settle in her chest. I do. Chen sighed, running a hand through her graying hair. I told Earth Command you were the most stubborn officer I'd ever encountered. They thought sending me would be enough to bring you in line. I'm sorry to disappoint them, Lena said, not sounding sorry at all. To her astonishment, Chen laughed. No, you're not. The ambassador's expression grew serious again. The Akrelian security team will be here in less than 20 minutes. Whatever you're planning, do it quickly. Lena blinked in surprise. You're not stopping us. Consider it a calculated risk. Chen moved toward the door. If you succeed, contact Earth Command immediately. If you fail, she paused. I'll tell them you were both caught in an unfortunate accident during the evacuation. After Chen left, Lena turned to Thaxis. We need to hurry. They worked in swift, practiced tandem, finalizing calculations and establishing the quantum link between the station and Earth. As the device powered up to full capacity, the air in the lab seemed to thicken with potential energy. "Neural interface ready," Thaxis announced, securing the delicate circuitry to his temple. He handed a matching device to Lena. "Once activated, our neural patterns will be synchronized. The quantum field will recognize our combined signature as a single entity during transmission." Lena attached the interface to her own temple, feeling the cool metal against her skin. "So we're essentially traveling as one consciousness." "For approximately 3.7 seconds, yes." Thaxis hesitated. "Lena, once this begins—" "I know," she interrupted gently. "No secrets between us." She stepped closer, taking his scaled hands in hers. "I'm not afraid of what you'll see in my mind." "Nor I in yours," he replied softly. "Though I fear you may find my thoughts alien. I would be disappointed if I didn't." She smiled. "Ready?" His crest raised slightly, the expression she now recognized as his version of a smile. "Ready." Together, they stepped onto the transmission platform. The quantum field intensified around them, creating a shimmering cocoon of blue-white energy. Thaxis activated the final sequence from his portable controller. "Transport in 10 seconds, he announced. "Neural synchronization beginning." Lena gasped as the neural interface activated. Her consciousness expanded, stretching beyond the boundaries of her own mind. Suddenly, she wasn't just herself. She was also Thaxis. His thoughts flowed into hers, alien yet familiar, structured yet creative. She saw his childhood on the Exiled homeworld, felt his isolation as his ideas diverged from accepted doctrine, experienced his wonder when first encountering human literature. And he was seeing her memories of Earth's oceans, her first day of the academy, her loneliness among the stars. Nothing was hidden. Every fear, every hope, every moment of doubt and triumph, all laid bare between them. Beautiful, she thought, or perhaps he thought it. The boundaries between them blurred as the quantum field intensified. "Different, yet harmonious," came the response, neither fully his nor fully hers. The lab around them began to dissolve, reality itself seeming to thin as the quantum transmission initiated. Lena felt her physical form losing cohesion, transforming into pure information carried on quantum waves. Just before they fully dematerialized, the lab door burst open. Exiled security forces stormed in, neural disruptors raised. "Stop," the lead officer commanded, by order of the High Council. But it was too late. The quantum wave had already begun its journey across space, carrying with it the entangled consciousness of human and Exiled united as one. The transition was both instantaneous and eternal. Lena experienced multiple realities simultaneously: the cold vacuum of space, the warmth of Earth's atmosphere, the curvature of space-time itself. Throughout it all, Thaxis' consciousness remained intertwined with hers, their combined awareness expanding beyond physical limitations. She saw the universe through his eyes. Patterns and probabilities, the mathematical elegance of existence. He experienced it through hers. Wonder and emotion, the vibrant immediacy of being alive. "We are the first," she thought, "but not the last." As suddenly as it began, the journey ended. Reality reasserted itself, quantum patterns reestablishing as physical matter. Lena felt solid ground beneath her feet, cool, dry air against her skin, and the gradual separation of their merged consciousness. They materialized in a large, dimly lit laboratory. Equipment hummed quietly around them, and through a vast window, the starry night sky of the Atacama Desert stretched overhead. "My God," said a familiar voice. It worked. Lena's brother, Dr. Marcus Reyes, stood frozen by a monitoring station, coffee cup suspended halfway to his mouth, eyes wide with shock. "Marcus," Lena managed, her voice hoarse, as if she hadn't used it for days rather than seconds. "We made it." Beside her, Thaxis swayed slightly, his normally perfect balance compromised by the journey. She reached out to steady him, feeling the warm texture of his scales beneath her fingers. "Status?" she asked softly. His vertical pupils focused on her, and in his eyes she saw recognition of all they had shared, every memory, every emotion, every unspoken truth between them. "Functional," he replied, then added with uncharacteristic imprecision, "and overwhelmed." "Yeah," she agreed. "Me too." Marcus approached cautiously, scientific curiosity overcoming his initial shock. "Lena, you just appeared, out of nowhere, with an Exiled." He looked between them, noting their joined hands. "An Exiled you're apparently quite close with." "This is Thaxis," she said simply. "Brilliant scientist, revolutionary thinker, and—" She paused, searching for the right word. "My partner." "Partner," Marcus repeated. "As in research partner, or—" "Both," Thaxis answered, his voice steadier now, though the distinction seems increasingly arbitrary after neural synchronization. Marcus blinked rapidly. "Neural what now? And how exactly did you teleport across 27 light-years?" Lena smiled. "It's a long story. But first, we need to contact Earth Command. Things are about to change dramatically for human-Exiled relations. Over the next 3 days, the laboratory became the center of a diplomatic storm. Earth Command representatives arrived within hours, followed by scientific teams eager to examine the quantum transmitter Thaxis reconstructed from memory. Security perimeters were established as the implications of their breakthrough became clear. Instantaneous travel between star systems would transform everything from trade to warfare. On the 3rd day, an Exiled diplomatic vessel arrived in Earth orbit. The High Council, recognizing they could no longer suppress Thaxis research, had sent representatives to negotiate. Lena and Thaxis stood together in the conference room as the Exiled delegation entered. Among them was Voltar, his crest rigid with barely contained displeasure. "Researcher Thaxis," he said formally, "the Council acknowledges your achievement." "How generous," Thaxis replied dryly, a hint of human sarcasm coloring his words. "After attempting to permanently isolate me for the same research." Voltar's scales rippled with annoyance. "Circumstances have changed." "Indeed they have," agreed Ambassador Chen, who had been appointed lead negotiator for Earth. "Quantum matter transmission is now a reality, one developed through human-Exiled cooperation." "Cooperation," Voltar repeated, his gaze shifting between Lena and Thaxis. "Is that what you call this aberration?" Lena stepped forward. "We call it progress. 2 different approaches creating something neither could achieve alone." "And what of your personal arrangement?" Voltar asked, his tone making the question sound like an accusation. "The Council has no precedent for an Exiled bonding with an alien species." "Then perhaps it's time to establish one," Thaxis suggested calmly, "unless the Council is prepared to reject the most significant technological breakthrough in a millennium because of outdated cultural taboos." The conference room fell silent as the implications of his challenge hung in the air. Finally, one of the other Exiled delegates, older than Voltar, with elaborately patterned scales, spoke. "The quantum matter transmission technology," she said slowly. "It requires neural synchronization between participants." "It does," Thaxis confirmed. "Complete neural compatibility is essential for successful matter reorganization. And you achieve this compatibility with a human." The elder delegate's crest raised slightly in what Lena recognized as scientific curiosity rather than disapproval. "We did," Lena answered. "Complete neural synchronization across species boundaries." The elder delegate turned to Voltar. "This changes our understanding of consciousness itself. If 2 different species can achieve neural harmony, it suggests consciousness transcends biological form." Thaxis finished. "A principle I've theorized for decades, despite Council rejection." Negotiations continued for weeks. Earth insisted on equal access to the technology, while the Exiled Council demanded oversight of its implementation. Throughout it all, Lena and Thaxis remained at the center, not just as the technology's creators, but as living proof that boundaries between species could be bridged. 6 months later, the first official quantum transmission station opened on Earth's moon. Representatives from 12 species gathered for the historic event, watching as the first official transport. A joint team of human and Akrelian scientists successfully transmitted to Alpha Centauri and back in less than 10 seconds. Lena stood at the observation window afterward, watching Earth rotate slowly below. Thaxis joined her, his scaled hand finding hers with practiced ease. "The Council has officially rescinded my deviant status," he said quietly. "They're calling me a visionary now." Lena smiled. Funny how success changes their perspective. "Not just success," he corrected. "Evidence. They can no longer deny what we've proven, that different minds working together create something greater than either alone." She turned to face him fully. In the 6 months since their quantum journey together, their connection had only deepened. Though the neural synchronization had been temporary, its effects lingered, an understanding between them that transcended words. "The quantum network will connect 17 systems by next year," she said. "Distance is becoming meaningless." "Not meaningless," Thaxis replied thoughtfully. "Just redefined. Like many concepts I'd once thought immutable." She knew what he meant. Since their minds had merged during that first transmission, both of them had changed. She thought more systematically now, seeing patterns where before she saw only chaos, and he had developed an appreciation for intuition and emotion that no Akrelian had ever expressed. "The Council has offered me leadership of the new Interspecies Quantum Research Division," he continued, "with authority to select my own team." "That's wonderful," Lena said sincerely. "You deserve it. I've requested you as co-director." His crest raised hopefully. "Earth Command has already approved the transfer if you want it." She laughed. "You already know my answer." "I do," he admitted, "but I find I enjoy hearing you say it." Another very human trait he had adopted, the pleasure of verbal confirmation, even when certainty existed. "Yes," she said, stepping closer. "My answer is yes." Around them, the newly constructed quantum transmission facility hummed with potential, connections forming between worlds that had once been separated by vast, unbridgeable distances. Beyond the window, stars glittered like possibilities waiting to be explored. "You know," Lena said thoughtfully, "on Earth, there's an old saying, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts." Thaxis considered this, his vertical pupils focusing on the distant stars. An elegant expression of quantum entanglement. Two distinct entities, creating something new when joined. "Is that the scientific interpretation?" she teased. His expression softened into what she now recognized as his smile. Subtle but genuine. "No," he admitted. "That is the interpretation of someone who has experienced it firsthand." As they stood together at the edge of a new era, the boundaries between their worlds, like the vast distances between stars, no longer seemed insurmountable. Different but harmonious, separate but united, they had proven that the greatest discoveries happen not in isolation, but at the point where differences meet. And in a universe full of diverse minds and species, that was the most revolutionary discovery of all.